New Orleans Saints expected to hire Klint Kubiak as their next offensive coordinator. We are here locked on Saints with Ross Jackson. So we have covered this news extensively. By extensively, I mean one video. But I want to hear what another New Orleans Saints content creator, commentator, however you want to phrase it, has to say about this. We will react. Big fan of that backpack. Let's go ahead and listen.
Years of struggling and lacking identity, the New Orleans Saints offense in 2024 will finally be exciting to watch again. The Saints.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, interesting microphone. It's not the size, ladies and gentlemen, it's how you know how to use it. So I've been saying this for years. I've been saying the identity is what's missing. The identity, the foundation, the scheme, the strategy, all of that. That's the problem with the Saints. You know, the Saints, once Sean Payton left and Drew Brees left, the Saints were kind of sort of trying to replicate what they did, but they didn't have the know-how, they didn't have the roster, they didn't have any of that stuff to do it. So that's why we look so disjointed, because we were. You know, it's kind of like if I watched, metaphor alert, it's kind of like if I watched Gordon Ramsay cook for 15 years. But I never really learned how to cook. I just watched him do it. And then he wasn't there one day, and I said, well, I guess I'll try. It would look kind of disjointed. It wouldn't be the same, even though I had 15 years of watching experience. That's how it felt with Pete Carmichael. Pete Carmichael felt like he was trying to do what Sean Payton did, but didn't totally understand how or why it worked.
It's expected to hire Klint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator. We're breaking it all down on this quick hit episode of Locked On Saints.
That's exactly how I look after about 14 Pimm's cups. This is exactly how it goes. I'm walking through the French Quarter, a couple Pimm cups in, I'm feeling good. Or even at the Saints game. You know, at the Saints game, I'm rocking and rolling. First Bloody Mary, second Bloody Mary. I switched to the Crown and Soda. After the second or third Crown and Soda, this is pretty much what's going on here. This exact kind of vision situation. Oh, yeah. That's it. Yep. And then now I'm ordering Uber Eats or something.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, Ross Jackson, native New Orleanian, New Orleans Saints expert, credential media member of the New Orleans Saints, as well as a senior writer and reporter over at Saints News Network.
Yeah,
jumping
absolutely.
right into this, we're doing a quick hit today to get you all caught up on everything going on. Big news for the New Orleans Saints that they are expected to hire former, or I guess present still, San Francisco 49ers passing game coordinator Klint Kubiak as their next offensive coordinator. This is a guy from the very beginning of the process, even before the process began for the Saints, that we knew was going to be a target for this team.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Saints and what they want in an offensive coordinator. I would say young, innovative, Shanahan, or not even the Shanahan tree, just a tree. And when I say, and a lot of people, this has been a point of contention. It's like, why is the tree so important? The only reason the tree is important to me is because it shows that there is a system. It shows that there is a system. There is a scheme. There is thought behind plays and plays design and roster building and all of that. Now more than ever, that's important in the NFL. Gone are the days where you can just roll the ball out there, run some running plays and run some passing plays, and then the rest just kind of happens. You know, like that's not really how the NFL is. The NFL is almost like a chess match where you run a system. You know, in chess, you have openers and you're kind of running plays, basically. That's what the NFL is. You have to have a system now. You have to have a style or a scheme or an understanding of why you're doing things. We didn't have that. So when I say the tree is important, that's why I think it's so important. I don't care if it's from the Shanahan tree or the, whoever it may be, right? It's just important that we get someone with an idea, with a vision, and now we have that.
Team. We talked about him and Zach Robinson effectively being 1A and 1B. Yes, I had Zach Robinson a little bit above Klint Kubiak for sure, but
also I think it was important too when we were talking about what coaches. I think it's important that we get someone outside of the building. You know, the Saints culture has come into question as of late. The Saints, just what we're doing as a team, as an organization, has come into question, and I don't think anyone inside of the building we had any confidence in. So I thought it was perfect timing to get new ideas, fresh eyeballs, fresh vision, all that stuff. So to hire from away, no ties to the team, not formal, not somebody who's coming in just because they have ties to Carr or they have ties to the Saints or they have ties to Allen or they have ties to whatever. I don't care about any of that. The fact that we have a fresh start guy to come in, that to me is very important.
Klint Kubiak was the easy home run choice or other home run choice for the New Orleans Saints. And after what has felt like centuries of looking for their next offensive coordinator, as the reports are saying from Adam Schefter over at ESPN, the New Orleans Saints are expected to hire Klint Kubiak as their next offensive coordinator. The hire cannot become official until after the Super Bowl, however, so that's why you're going to see a lot of language coming up about how they're expected to hire, that they're working to hire, things like that.
Yeah, let me make this clear. It's not official. It's not on pen to paper. It can't be until after the Super Bowl. All right, so from what I understand, it is pretty much done. It's just waiting. You're just waiting to do it until the Super Bowl. So we won't hear a for sure this is happening. We won't see Klint Kubiak wearing a Saints hat or any of that stuff, changing his Twitter handle and hoodatting. We won't see that until after the Super Bowl. So we still have a full week of just kind of tiptoeing around the legality.
But look, this was the candidate. This is the guy that the New Orleans Saints have wanted this entire time. And it's fantastic news. Like, fans should be very, very excited about this.
Agreed.
I know that Klint Kubiak's struggles in 2021 have created a little bit of caution around him. But remember, he was running his dad's system in that year. He was very green, first-time offensive coordinator. He was effectively sequencing 6 plays and then having to figure out how to create some type of dynamic over on that offense. Got better as the play caller the following year in 2022 with the Denver Broncos. And then now...
I had to answer the same question where people were like, if Kubiak is so good, then why has he been on different teams, or why isn't he a play caller right now? Why is he moved from Minnesota to Denver to Frisco to whatever? Guys, he's 36 years old. Okay, did he? And it's not like he completely flashed out. Like, it's not like he turned into Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, the offenses that he called plays for, was the coordinator for, were successful. They were top 15 offenses. They were top half of the NFL offenses. Kirk Cousins was good under Kubiak. Kubiak has now worked with Kirk Cousins. He's passing game coordinator, so he's got a hand in what's going on with Brock Purdy. So I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy to see this hire and have any reaction to it besides that it's positive. We weren't going to get somebody, like, let's say we got Zach Robinson. Same thing. If we would have got Dan Pitcher, same thing. Like, there's no candidate out there that we could have got that would have come in with some shining resume of, I called plays for blank team, they won blank playoff games, and we were top 5 in offense. Like, when you're in the spot we're at of hiring a coordinator, you have to kind of get someone with you're hiring them more for their ideas and more for what you think they can do versus what they've already done. So it's kind of the same thing as drafting. It's kind of the same thing as drafting a quarterback, where there's no point in looking at what a quarterback did for whatever school. If you're trying to draft Josh Allen back in the day and you're saying, well, I mean, Wyoming's record wasn't that great. It's like, I'm not really worried about Wyoming's record. I'm worried about what this guy physically can do. I'm not really worried about the Minnesota Vikings record. I'm not worried about what the Minnesota Vikings were. I'm not worried about what their results were, because we're not the Minnesota Vikings. We don't have that roster. We don't have those players. We didn't have those coaches. We don't have that situation. I'm worried about what he brings to the table, idea-wise, scheme-wise, strategy-wise, all of that. And he does have experience as a play caller. I mean, we were looking at a lot of candidates, and there were a lot of candidates out there who people were saying, I want to get this guy. And that guy would have had zero play calling experience. It would have never been a coordinator. I've had people saying to get Drew Brees. He's had zero coaching experience, much less play calling experience. For 2 separate teams, Kubiak has play calling experience. That's important. He's going to come in. He knows how to do the job, and now we'll see if he can do it. And don't get this twisted. This is not guaranteed to work. I'm not sitting here saying that Klint Kubiak is 100% going to be a great OC. I'm not sitting here saying he's 100% going to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be the next Sean McVay and the next Kyle Shanahan. We don't know any of that. All you can do in these situations is take the chance. Do your due diligence and take the chance. This is the best chance. This is a better decision than John Gruden or a retread, just Mike Sullivan or Luke Getsy or people like that. Like, this is This is Mickey Loomis taking a chance on a young guy trying to hit a home run. We've said before, like, man, it's crazy we passed up on the Mike McDaniels and people like that. Those people are successful now, but there was a big chance taken on those guys. There's a big chance taken on Mike McDaniel. And you could have said the same thing about McDaniel. You could have said, well, I mean, yeah, the offense is good, but how much of that is Kyle Shanahan? How much of that is Kyle? Or how much of that is how much of Mike McDaniel getting jobs is because he was friends with the Shanahan family? I'm pretty sure Mike McDaniel's, somebody double check me here, I'm pretty sure Mike McDaniel's mom dated a coach for the Broncos, and that's how Mike McDaniel even got involved in coaching. He got a job as like a film analyst, and then he became friends with Kyle Shanahan, and then the rest is history. I'm pretty sure that's how it worked out. So you could say the exact same thing. You could say, well, Mike McDaniel, he was only hired because he was friends with the Shanahans. Their offenses are cool, but that's because of Kyle Shanahan. This is not the time to be negative. This is the time to look at the positive stuff that Kubiak brings in, what we think he can do, and hope that in this situation, he's ready to roll. He's ready to implement his ideas and his vision of an offense, and we're going to flourish.
Has spent the 2023 season with the Kyle Shanahan system and the San Francisco 49ers. It's a system that every team wants, and now it's a system that the New Orleans Saints are expected to have. This is going to be massive for Derek Carr. It's going to be great for Alvin Kamara. It's going to be great for Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, the young receivers there, along with A.T. Perry. This is what the New Orleans Saints needed to do. They had no identity on the offensive side of the football last year. That will not be the case in 2024.
Yeah.
They did not do a good job of maximizing their playmakers or even utilizing their playmakers in the ways that they should have been utilized in 2023. That will no longer be the case in 2024. And if you're worried about Klint Kubiak showing up and still having his dad's playbook, if that would have happened, he would not have been hired. It's the fact that he's coming off of this Kyle Shanahan system and the growth that he has made during that time.
Don't forget, Gary Kubiak coached under Mike Shanahan, so I'm sure, Kubiak's system. And Gary Kubiak's system is what they run in Cleveland, by the way. That's the Gary Kubiak system, is what's going on in Cleveland and what Joe Flacco knows. So when Joe Flacco was lighting it up, that's Kubiak. That he's just rolling, he's just doing what he knows. And what Flacco knows is the Kubiak system. So, it's not, when you start throwing around like the tree and the system and all that, it can get convoluted. But yeah, this guy, he's being hired for what he's done over the whole breadth of his career. The Kyle Shanahan bits, the Mike Shanahan bits, the Gary Kubiak bits, all of that. What he did with Kirk Cousins, what he's done with Brock Purdy. There's a whole lot to this. There's a whole lot of moving pieces, and all of it is positive.
In which it makes perfect sense for the Saints to go this route. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see what other staff changes come about for this. Remember, the Saints still have to fill out an offensive assistant role, a wide receiver coach role, and a running back coach role. But will we see more changes with Klint Kubiak showing up and maybe wanting to get some of those other guys?
Yeah, I would assume. I would assume a coordinator is going to want to bring in his guys, and usually his guys are people who he's recently coached with or share the same ideals. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he took somebody from the Niners or took someone from Minnesota or from Denver, just coaches that he's coached with. And you can't blame, that's what I would do. If I was Klint Kubiak and I had to fill out my assistant coaches, I would want assistant coaches that I know. This is a big role for Klint Kubiak. This is a huge opportunity to come in to a team that for 15 years was one of the best offenses in the NFL and produce some of the best offensive players and some of the best offensive games and stats and all that stuff. A very hungry fan base. This is and I'm sure Klint Kubiak is thinking like, man, if I do well here, I can be kind of be in a transitionary period for a couple of years, and I can be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. I can be the next Sean Payton. For an offensive coordinator at 36 years old, it's on the doorstep. It can happen for him. It's right there for him. If he wants that, if that's his goal, the city is more than happy that if he succeeds and our offense is sweet and we have an identity and all that works out, yeah, I'm all in on Klint Kubiak. And again, it could fail. I really don't care if it fails or not. And we preach this all the time. You can't be results based only. Same like think about if you're the Bears, right? I would want to draft Caleb Williams. Is that guaranteed that Caleb Williams will be good? No. First overall picks bust all the time. All you can ask your team do is make the best decision, take the risk, and try and be good. That's it. Like, take the chance, draft the player, go get the guy. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least we took the chance. At least we went for it. So I would much rather do this than just play it safe, promote Ronald Curry, play it safe, go get Mike Sullivan, do all that stuff. I don't want to do all that. I don't want to retread John Gruden. I don't want to become the old Raiders. I want to evolve, innovate, bring in new ideas, and try and become something totally new. I want to, the same thing that happened after the Jim Haslett era and all that stuff, how we evolved into something totally different during the Sean Payton period. I want to now evolve into something totally different. That's what I want this to be the first domino for. I want this to be the first domino for the next chapter of the New Orleans Saints. That's all you can ask for, is that we're going for that next chapter. We're not staying around. We're not playing it safe. We're not being, comfortable.
Guys in. Could we see a guy like Brian Griese, who also interviewed for this role as the quarterback coach for the San Francisco 49ers? Could we see him join this New Orleans Saints staff in some other capacity or something of that ilk? It's going to be very interesting to watch the upcoming changes. But the fact of the matter is that
would be huge. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but if we could get Kubiak as the OC and then he brings Griese over as like an offensive assistant or a quarterback's coach or something, whatever, to get two assistant coaches from the 49ers on the offensive side of the ball like that, two young coaches, that would be insane. I mean, you talk about going from 0 to 100 really quick. All of a sudden we go from having virtually no one with any offensive capability in the building to having those two guys. That would be, again, I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be huge.
This makes the New Orleans Saints better in 2024.
Yeah,
are they going to be a 10-win team? I don't know. Are they going to be able to go on a playoff run? I don't know. But if they're going to be a 10-win team, if they're going to make a playoff run, Klint Kubiak was the hire that they needed to make in order to get them there. Zach Robinson maybe was the other guy that I was keenly focused on for this team. I love this hire for New Orleans.
Love it.
You should love this hire for New Orleans.
I do.
New Orleans has to be stoked that they got this hire. All of this conversation about how nobody wants to work with New Orleans. People don't want to work with Dennis Allen. People don't want to work with Derek Carr. And the Saints got one of the top offensive coordinator candidates. Presumably, we'll wait until the signing is official, but the expectation here is that they got him to say yes.
Yeah.
And not only did they get him to say yes, but now they get him to New Orleans after the Super Bowl and be able to continue to build up. This system, that Kyle Shanahan system that Klint Kubiak brings, it's going to bring a lot more motion. The New Orleans Saints were in the low or the high.
Yeah, motion-wise, great point. I'm pretty sure, man, I'm really pulling some numbers here. Somebody double-check me. And if I get these numbers right, I'm on a whole different level. I'm pretty sure the Saints ran somewhere in the neighborhood of 350-ish plays with motion last year. The Niners are like 750. The Niners are way up there. They're like closer to 800. So just that alone, just that identity and creativity alone is going to make the Saints better. Like, that cannot be, like, someone was saying that this isn't that big of a deal. We need to address the offensive line. I'll tell you this right now. And this is a controversial yet brave hot take, boiling hot take opinion. Be careful, tread lightly. If you told me I could have the best offensive line in the NFL, or I could have the best offensive coordinator in the NFL, I would take the best offensive coordinator. I would rather have the best offensive coordinator and an average O-line than an average play caller and the best O-line. So I think this getting Kubiak and just getting more motion, just getting more creative, that alone is a huge success.
High 20s when it came to motion percentage this year, just over 14%. The San Francisco 49ers over 40%. They were second in the NFL when it came to that number, right behind the Miami Dolphins, who were utilizing as their head coach,
Shanahan,
the passing and play caller, the former passing game coordinator of that very system, Mike McDaniel, who was formerly with the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan before he went there. So expect to see a lot more motion. Expect to see a considerable amount of play action. Expect to see the Saints move the pocket. Expect to see the
I mean, you could kind of expect to see a lot of what Mike McDaniel does. I'm not saying Klint Kubiak is Mike McDaniel, but it is kind of the same, the same trajectory where McDaniel is a passing game coach, passing game coordinator for Kyle Shanahan. He's with Kyle Shanahan for a long time. Kubiak is in the same role with Kyle Shanahan. Now he's calling plays. Like McDaniel's the head coach, a little bit different, but McDaniel's is setting the the culture and the identity and all that stuff. He's got a much bigger role than Kubiak, but you can at least expect to be close to resemble what stylistically what they're trying to do in Miami.
The wide zone concepts back, the outside zone runs, a mobile offensive line, all these other things. This is massive, massive news for the New Orleans Saints, assuming that this hire holds. Fingers crossed that it will and that nothing changes between now and when the hire can become official.
That'd be embarrassing.
But this was the guy that the New Orleans Saints needed to go out and get, and they went out and they got him, and you should be very, very excited as a Saints fan. You are not in store for mediocrity anymore. You are now in store for actual improvement on this New Orleans Saints team and on this New Orleans Saints offense. Gonna have a full episode coming up for you here.
Yeah, but it's a move for the future and a move for the short term too. It's going to immediately impact the offense, but it's also a 36-year-old offensive coordinator who, if he proves he's good and proves he can do this and he gets better, then we may have a head coach in waiting, and this is exciting. I'm very excited to be a part of this and to be on the front end of this era of the New Orleans Saints. Thank you, Ross, for this. Make sure everyone, if you want, Locked On and Ross do a great job. If you're interested in Saints content, be sure to check them out. They're fantastic. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Go in the comments below. Let me know what you think. What do you think this will mean for the Saints? Are you pumped? Are you as excited as I am? Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.